All right. Hey, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you may be in this beautiful, amazing, wonderful planet of ours. This is Marc, Lainhart, the Intuitive Prospector, here for another Metaphysical Mocha Mondays. So grab your coffee, grab your tea. Let's get into an inspirational message for the week. I'm going to be talking about the ripple effect and how important the ripple effect is based on what we do on our journey, what we do on our spiritual path, what we do in our lives. And I just want to thank you this morning for hanging out with me. If you want to learn more about the work I'm doing, you can subscribe to the page, The Intuitive Prospector, here on Facebook. You can find my show over on YouTube. You can also go to marclainhart.com, internet search The Intuitive Prospector, and let's do a little spiritual prospecting for your own spiritual transformation, healing, and of course, spiritual gold. So good morning to all of you. I hope that you had a fabulous weekend. Today is Monday. It is Metaphysical Mocha Mondays. And what would Mocha Monday not be unless you had some coffee? So grab your coffee, grab your tea. Let's move into the magic of the moment. I'm broadcasting live from my studio here in Seattle, Washington. And this morning, this show's topic was actually inspired by one of my attendees yesterday at my sold out event. So first and foremost, I just want to say thank you, much gratitude to the spirit world and those who showed up to connect with their loved ones. I try to do an event every month called Sundays with Spirit locally here at Inner Alchemy, which is in West Seattle, located in West Seattle. And I want to give a special shout out to my friend and colleague and spirit artist, the spirit illustrator Chris Fitting, who came down and joined me for an afternoon of celebration of life after death. A lot of laughs, tears, stories, memories, and it was a sold out event. So thank you to everyone that came. And then afterwards, I went out and had a few ciders with a few of the attendees that wanted, to learn more about what I do as a medium, the spiritual work that I do, and how does this all work. And I said, you know what? Why don't you give me a topic to talk about on today's show? Because I love to be inspirational. I love to improv. I don't like a lot of planning and scripting in what I do. And his name is Jason. He was attending. He said, hey, I really resonated with what you said about the ripple effect. And the ripple effect of what we do from an energy standpoint, from a metaphysical standpoint, but also the actions of others that have a ripple effect on us. So we're going to be talking about this morning. If you want to stick around at 8:30, I'll be back up on the Intuitive Prospector page for the Healing Cafe. That's where I have a direct conversation with you. That's where I do spiritual chats, readings, we connect, either phone, video, and we never know what we're going to get each and every week. Each and every week, it's literally a box of chocolates, as I like to say. So if you're commenting, I have not seen your comment right now, so I've turned the comments off. I will come back after the show, so if you're new to the show, let me know where you're from. And then again, in the Healing Cafe, which is at 8:30 a.m. Pacific Standard Time, 11:30 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, the Healing Cafe is where I'll actually connect to everybody and have a nice spiritual chat. So let's move into what I call the magic of the moment. Take a deep breath with me. Welcome to Monday. And just take the next 20 to 25 minutes just to listen to the inspirational message. Going to give you a crystal for the week. Going to give you a number for the week when we work with nature. That's why nature's my backdrop, and numbers and crystals and animals and your energy. And you start to connect into the universe, because the universe doesn't speak in English or Spanish or Italian. It actually speaks in terms of energy, frequency, vibration. So I hope that singing bowl kind of resonates with you. It's the Om singing bowl, the sound of Om, which is theorized to be the first sound ever created when the universe came into existence, when it came into reality. So this morning, the ripple effect. A lot of people call this the heartbeat of eternity, the ripples that go through time and space. And it's really based on the understanding that we're all connected. So today's message is actually inspired by one of my participants that came to my event last night. So we'll see how I do with my readings. I'm a little bit tired from yesterday's event. It's a 2-hour event. And I try to do it every month here locally. And it's just called Sunday with Spirit. And tickets are really cheap. They're like $10. But it's a way to come and try to connect with your loved ones, because I always remind those that show up to these events that the grieving process is the internal process when you've lost somebody. And the reason I do a lot of the work that I do is because I've had a lot of trauma and tragedy and seen a lot of people transition into the spirit world. But when you show up to an event like that, the spirit world also sees you in mourning as the external aspect of your grieving process. Grieving is, that internal process. Mourning is what you do to reach out, to start healing, to start moving forward. And so a lot of people that show up to my events are there in a mourning state because they're looking to connect with their loved ones. Now, I can't ever guarantee who's going to come through because the spirit world does not work for me. I actually represent and work for them the best way that I can. But I have found that there's a lot of healing and a lot of evidence and messages of proof of life after death, and it's very, very powerful, and it has a ripple effect. So yesterday, one of the attendees, I just asked, hey, what do you want me to do my show on tomorrow? I'll be very inspirational and off the cuff and improv. And he said, why don't you talk about the ripple effect? Because it really resonated with what you said. Whether it's somebody that has passed into the spirit world, that ripple effect it has on us, what we call death and dying, the grieving process, and how that impacts us. It can impact us for years. When the grieving, especially if it's very traumatic. For me, it was my brother's, and the grieving never leaves you. You actually grow around, and it becomes a part of your journey. It becomes a part of the new you, if you will. But it's still that ripple effect. Or I brought through somebody yesterday that had accidentally overdosed on opioids, and it was a suicide, but it was an accidental suicide. And that ripple effect of what happens when somebody takes their own life. I've personally been impacted by a family member and a friend, and so I definitely know how that feels and all the emotions that are wrapped up when somebody takes their life and leaves the planet early before their time, and that ripple effect that does resonate through all of us. So this morning I'm talking about the ripple effect, not only what you receive in your journey and what happens from other people's actions, but also what you do, even down to the smallest molecule, down to the smallest level. And we really, we've called the ripple effect a couple different things. There's a couple books that came out, a few years ago. One was What the Bleep Do We Know, which is a good read, because it really is, what do the bleep do we know? We don't know a lot. And The Secret, of course, which is about vibrational energy. What you attract attracts back. But a lot of us, in the metaphysical fields and the spiritual pathways, we talk about the heartbeat of eternity, because the ripple effect is really understanding that we are all connected. One of the reasons I resonate with Star Wars, because it was, from a young childhood, I understood that there was a force that bound and connected everything, all creatures on the planet, everything together in terms of this vibrational energy. And, it really is interwoven, and it is a very complicated tapestry that we live within in this world. This world is very crazy right now, a lot going on. But it is energy, and it is frequency, and it is vibration. No different than how I'm connecting to you through my iPhone, how I'm broadcasting. Again, this is based on frequency. This is based on power and vibration, even for you to connect with me this morning to hear today's Metaphysical Mocha Monday message, which is talking about the ripple effect. So before I begin and get deeper into this message for this week, I do want to remind people that if you are catching my show, and because I do a lot of work in the spiritual pathways of mediumship and psychic and healing and metaphysics, because yesterday this topic was based on somebody that had taken their life by accident, suicide, I just want to remind people that there is a suicide prevention hotline that you can call for those that are, you should never feel alone, and it's a great resource, especially if you are, paying attention to the warning signs of somebody that, may be suicidal. Sometimes they talk about wanting to die or to kill oneself, looking for a way to kill oneself, searching for a gun online or buying a gun, talking about feeling hopelessness or having no reason to live, talking about feeling trapped or unbearable pain. I found when I find people that say unbearable pain, most people that I connect to on the other side tell me that they just wanted the pain to stop, and that's why they took their own life. And that happened yesterday in my demonstration in the public. It was very sad, and it was very unexpected, and it was an accident. So the number to call for the Lifeline is 1-800-273-TALK or 1-800-273-8255. You can also go online to suicidepreventionlifeline.org. I keep the card here because I work with a lot of different people as a spiritual counselor per se, and as a teacher and as a mentor. And so it's always just, it's anonymous, it's available 24/7, 365, and it's just a reminder that, it's always available, and it can help a loved one, a friend, or yourself on your journey. So that's just a reminder that, as part of giving back, as part of my show on this platform, is to connect and to help and to, think outside the box and move forward in a healthy spiritual way. And the ripple effect has impacted all of us in life, especially if you've lived longer in life. If you're just beginning in life, maybe not so much. But I can tell you, for those of us that have been on the path for some time, we do get impacted by the different ripple effects. You know, there's a quote from Rob Reiner that talks about, everybody talks about wanting to change things and help and fix, but ultimately all you can do is fix yourself. And that's a lot. Because if you can fix yourself, it does have a ripple effect. And if you know Rob Reiner, famous movies that he's done over the years, you can look him up. There's also a quote from Gabrielle Bernstein, who I follow and I love, and her messages and what she does as a teacher. And she talks about our own joy, own your joy so that you can be happier and bring more energy to the world. The ripple effect works on a quantum level, and I'll be talking about that. It brings about changes in the world because it really is at a quantum level. When you think in terms of energy, frequency, vibration, Nikola Tesla reminded us of that. That's where you really start to unlock the secrets of the universe, the unseen world, the world that is felt, not seen by the human eye, but felt by the human skin. So metaphysically, we work with the etheric world, we work with higher vibrations, different dimensions. And, you know, for me, this was hard to grasp when I first started down the spiritual path because I come from a place, I was 8 years in the Coast Guard and I was several years in the fire service. So I come from a place of logic, critical thinking, analytical thinking, reasoning, cognitive thinking as far as thinking things through. And then all of a sudden, you know, with my own near-death experience, with the loss of my brothers, my father-in-law at the same time, it really changed my belief systems. It changed how I thought about things. It changed how I was even connecting and seeing things. So it really started to move into the right hemisphere of the brain, where Einstein talked about all the creativity and power is on the right side of the brain. And along with that, I learned a lot about the brain with my own brother's journey with his brain cancer. He had brain mapping done twice here in Seattle, and we learned a lot about how the brain works. Even just this small area right here, he had glioblastoma on his left temple. And why do we call these the temples? I've always long fascinated about that, because within here is a connection to something bigger than ourselves. But this little part right here for everybody, this little round area right here, is your memory and your speech. You can press down and you can take your speech away. You can press down and you can't recall your memories. All right here. So imagine just one little point on the brain impacts your memory and speech. So imagine what the rest of the brain, if we actually opened up and created neural pathways. There's a quote that I really love about today's society, because what's going on with people so divided. And my show is not about religion. My show is not about politics. My show is not about dividing, but having civility and kindness and caring and compassion for others, and trying to find a way to fix things, coming together, because there's always two sides to a story, right? And it's trying to tell the best story that we can. And Robert Kennedy talked about, each time a man stands up for an ideal or acts to improve the lot of others or strikes out against injustice, he sends forth a teeny ripple of hope, and crossing each other from a million different centers of energy and daring those ripples build a current that can sweep down the mightiest walls of oppression and a resistance. And that was Robert Kennedy that talked about that. So all of these quotes that I'm talking about talks about the energy, but it talks also about yourself and the energy that you do and what you do with your energy and that ripple effect that you send out. Because if you think about the population, I think we're we're getting close to 8 billion people. So imagine 8 billion people on the planet all sending out their own energy, their own ripple effect, their own vibration, their own Wi-Fi signal. For those that understand technology and Wi-Fi, the energy of your heart that goes into a radius which can go up to 20 feet in diameter. There's a lot of energy and a lot of stuff of no wonder we feel tired already, and no wonder we feel like we're just getting bombarded with all sorts of different thoughts and energies and perceptions and beliefs. And so a lot of times I always remind people, take the time to disconnect so that you can have time to reconnect to what's most important for you. So again, the ripple effect, we talk about it all the time in my spiritual development group, SDG. If you're interested and you want to pay a visit to the group and get a visitor's pass to see if you vibe with your tribe, send me a message here on the show. Send me a message via my contact form at marclainhart.com. And I also want to remind people I'll be back on the air here next week for a new episode of Inspired Living Radio. We have a new format and some new guests and some new ways that we're doing business with Inspired Living Radio. But that's every Wisdom Wednesday. Every other Wisdom Wednesday at 12 p.m. Pacific, 3 p.m. Eastern, because I'm going to be doing 2 podcasts a month now, kind of reducing my schedule because I'm doing more traveling and teaching, and I still love doing radio, so I'll be still doing the second and fourth Wednesday of the month over on Om Times Radio. So I hope that you'll join me for those podcasts and inspirational shows. But as far as the heartbeat to eternity, it is the ripple effect. Everything we do and think affects people in our lives, and their reactions in turn affect others. I always remind people that the choices you make do have far-reaching consequences. Those of us that think of in the now, but also those ripple effects that go out energetically that you may not see. I mean, each of us really has the capability to change the world in some small way with the energy and the ripple effects of what we carry, for better or for worse, depending on where you're at in your journey, depending on where your mindset is. But we can, really use the principles of the ripple effect to magnify our actions and their effects on other people. I can feel it, yesterday when I was connecting to the suicide. I could feel the ripple effect go out over the audience through the tears and the gasp of, I'm bringing through this young gentleman who, wasn't much older and then his 40s, 30s maybe. Do I remember 30s, 40s? And accidentally took oxycodone and went to sleep and never woke up. And, that ripple effect you can feel. And when you come to one of my events, I really try to do that to where it's not just me up on the platform giving a reading, but the audience can feel that energy and that love and that emotion, that ripple effect. And what was interesting is when I'm giving one message to somebody direct, somebody on the other side of the audience has very similarities, and I tell them to listen in, because the spirit world can connect with us in several different ways: signs, symbols, synergy, synchronistic events. Because this voice, which is just a vibration, think about it, it's a vibration off a chord that I'm connecting with you today. But when you start to use your other senses, we call the clairs, your clairvoyance, your clairsentience, your claircognizance, which is a sense of knowing something, your intuition, which is the language of your soul, your awareness, it really does open you to what we call after-death communications, things that are unseen. And it's quite fascinating, especially someone that comes from logic and critical thinking of working in the spiritual metaphysical pathways of mediumship. And, what I love about giving the one message to the one person over here on this side of the audience, there were two people over here that could resonate with a lot of what I was saying. And I told them, even though I'm connecting here, that's the spirit world's way of connecting to them on their own personal level. And again, it's usually triggered by thought, an impression, a feeling, an emotion. And, when we break down the science behind the ripple effect, I mean, it really is just, in a nutshell, physics is the study of matter, energy, and the interaction between them. We're matter in the physical flesh suit, but we're also energy, because we're spiritual beings, energetic beings first, before we came into the human consciousness, into the human experience, into all of these life lessons that we're learning. Because I always remind people that we're here to learn. Life is learn it from experience. That's what life acronym for me anyway means. But even recently they just captured at the time of conception, with the sperm entering in the egg, there's a flash, there's a spark of energy that creates that life. And it's the same energy that resides within your heart. It's the energy that makes your heart beat and have that rhythm. And when that energy leaves, the heart stops, which means then you transition to somewhere else. But in the physics that we understand today, is energy always has to travel somewhere. So we're matter, we have energy, and it is just the interaction, it's the physics and the study of our energy and the matter and how they actually interconnect together. And that's also called, the core theories of physics are classic Newtonian mechanics, or Newton if you follow Newton, electromagnetism, which is very similar to what the borealis lights are. When you see the Earth, the colors of the Earth, that's her magnetic field, or electromagnetism. We've got thermodynamics, we've got quantum mechanics, we've got theory of relativity. And you could really break that down. I don't have time for today's show to break all those down, because we could talk for hours about, string theory, multi-dimension, time, the theory of relativity. If you really want to watch a great show, we were talking about this yesterday, watch Interstellar with Matthew McConaughey. Kind of blows your mind on how theory of relativity and time work based on, quantum mechanics. But just for today's show, I'm just talking about the energy of the relationship between the matter, the physical flesh suit, and the energy that's within our heart, and those interconnections. And when you express yourself, that ripple energy goes out and then we also are bombarded and take back. So it's important to pay attention as a sensitive, as an empath, of setting your boundaries so you're not drained. I had one person yesterday at the event that was in the front row. He was literally drained from the energy of Chris and I connecting to the spirit world as Chris drew people up on his spirit board, and I was connecting with messages. By the end, he was like almost curled over, and I just thought he was bored, to be honest with you. But then we talked after the event. He just said he was just so overwhelmed with energy, but not knowing that he's an empath, and all he could hear me talking was I sounded like the adults from the Peanuts. I was, and so he was actually overwhelmed with the energy of what we were doing. And I told him he really needs to pay attention as a sensitive, as an empath, and start developing and have discipline on how to better protect your energy, not from anything bad, but just knowing how to manage your energy. Just like you fill up your gas tank of your car, it's knowing how to fill your energy up, and your energy gets drained, and knowing when to fill back up, or take the time to disconnect so you have the time to reconnect. So, it really is, there's some exciting things that are happening, guys, in today's modern technology, especially in the field of quantum physics, quantum mechanics. We're starting to get into, we have 3D printing now. We're really starting to move into virtual reality stuff. We're moving into AI, artificial intelligence. We're moving into robotics. And, people have understand for a long time that, the basic building blocks of matter, the atom, they can be broken down. We learned it in school. Protons, neutrons, electrons. We learned that. I learned that in high school. I learned that in college. But we've also come to understand as we move forward that these components are not absolute, and that they can actually be broken down farther into actually smaller particles. Now, it's theory right now, but I found in spiritualism and metaphysics that science fiction usually becomes science fact, and theory, usually it's theories and hypotheses, end up becoming reality and fact. Just like, the black hole this year it's the first time we've talked about black holes. We have theorized black holes, but this year in 2019 in the universal year is the first year that we actually captured an image of what a black hole would look like. And it kind of reminded me of the all-seeing eye from Lord of the Rings, if you follow Lord of the Rings. But the backstory of how the algorithm came to be was from a young girl in her 30s working for NASA, wrote the algorithm to actually write the code to actually capture the picture of the black hole. But now we can say that black holes are no longer theory because we can actually see it with our physical eye. And these debates, whether it's black holes, whether it's the microscope, whether it's a telescope, whether it's a dog whistle, they're all theorized until something comes along and changes that to where we can actually see it, because a lot of people want to see it, believe it. I always teach the opposite: believe it, see it, achieve it. But for right now, as we get into more quantum physics, and I say spiritualism is just way ahead of what we understand in physics today. It's just physics catching up. But we can go even break down these protons, electrons, and neutrons farther down into, what are called, leptons and quarks, I think is what they're calling it. And it just gets to the point where everything is broken down to even farther and farther until it's a finite bit of matter, and then it just is energy. So it all comes back to being energy. And if you want to, learn more about energy, frequency, vibration, metaphysics, spiritual stuff, go to marclainhart.com, internet search the Intuitive Prospector, come to my shows on Monday mornings or catch my podcasts on Wednesdays, Inspired Living Radio, because we talk about this stuff. And you can check out the book, What the Bleep Do We Know, or The Secret, because that's all based on everything is energy, our thoughts, and how we interact with the human experiences, mankind, human consciousness. So give it a go. Go out and do some prospecting. That's why I'm called the Intuitive Prospector, because I started prospecting on my own to explore through body, mind, and spirit, and to uncover things that I've long talked about. But when you start to prospect and when you start to explore and search, you start getting into these deeper concepts of quantum mechanics. And Albert Einstein first proposed that underlying set of rules within that branch of physics that talked about the unified field theory, which has become, in a sense, the holy grail of science about energy, frequency, and vibration. Things that Nikola Tesla was talking about in 1865, long before Einstein came up with his theory of relativity, not long after. But look up the unified field theory. Look up about the physics of energy and frequency and vibration, and how your thoughts interact with the world and how you can change the world by changing yourself, that ripple effect. And I'm just going to leave you with the definition of the ripple effect, and then I'm going to give you your number for the week and your crystal for the week. And really the definition of a ripple effect is a spreading, pervasive, and usually unintentional effort or influence. So again, the definition of a ripple effect, whether it's somebody that's transitioned in the spirit world, somebody that's committed suicide, somebody that's coming into the planet, somebody that's a very inspirational speaker or leader, is a spreading, pervasive, and usually unintentional effect or influence. So imagine what if you do have the intent to create positivity and inspiration, very much what I'm doing with my shows. I'm actually setting the intent for inspiration, for inspirational messages for the week ahead, because I know that energy metaphysically follows my intentions. And I know if I can at least touch one person's life this morning on Mocha Mondays, I know that I've made a difference in inspiring and guiding and teaching and leading and following and living in Carpe Diem, right? So I'm going to be back here in about 4 minutes for the Healing Cafe. If you'd like to join me, Spiritual Chats, it's a spiritual community. Say hi to people you know. Come in and just be part of the collective energy of the Healing Cafe. I will be doing free readings. I will be giving you a card. Maybe be doing some mediumship, bringing somebody live. Hopefully I can do my video this week, because last week it was turned off, so I'm not sure what that was about. But it's been my pleasure to connect with you this morning. I hope that you have a fabulous week ahead. I hope that you pay attention to your thoughts, because thoughts are very, very powerful, guys. If you've ever seen the Dr. Emoto water exercise, we practice in Spiritual Development Group, my weekly online development group. And one of my members did a fantastic job, put a PowerPoint presentation together, presented about how your words impact even water molecules. So check out the water experiment by Dr. Emoto, or if you have more questions, visit me at marclainhart.com, send me a private message. But your message for this week on numerology is personal growth when it comes to the ripple effect. The ripple effects can really change you. Like I said, when I was going through the trauma of losing my brothers, that ripple effect actually impacted my personal growth to allow me to be here today with the knowledge and insight that I have and the connection to the spirit world in what I do. So the number 7 is in numerology. As a numerologist, the 7 is about speaking truth, seeking truth, hearing truth on the spiritual pathway. One of the most spiritual numbers in many books around the world, from the Quran, the Bible, to the Hindu Book of the Dead, to the Egyptian Bible. The 7, it really resonates. But personal growth this week for you. And I'm not going to give you a totem animal for the week, because I really want you to focus on the crystal. And the crystal or stones, if you don't follow that or you don't jive with that, I get it. Like I said, when I started on my spiritual path, I wasn't into the jewelry. I wasn't into crystals. And then, somebody gave me a different perception and a different experience, and that kind of unlocked the door. So I would just, recommend try it yourself, see if it works. And the magnetite, so Magnetite, it's called magnetite. It's also known as the lodestone. So for some of you that may know it, it's a kind of a black, brownish gray. It's not a very attractive crystal. It's more of that earth kind of crystal. It's sourced, easily obtained from places around the world, but its attributes of magnetite. It's magnetic, and it's a powerfully positive, negative polarity stone or crystal. And it can be used as magnetic therapy, working with the body's own biomagnetic field and its meridians. So for those of you that follow acupuncture like myself, or chiropractic care, alignment of the spine, or massage of the muscles, these are all very, very powerful things. And when you work with crystals and you use magnetite on your auric field, your electromagnetic field, the field of what your heart is giving off, it can bring balance to that. So if you feel like you're out of balance, try working with some crystal therapy, some energy therapies. Reiki is good. I use Qigong in the mornings to balance my own energy. But it's called the lodestone or magnetite. Give it a go, because it can really help you in not only finding balance, but healing your energy, especially if your energy's been depleted by the ripple effect of something negative that has happened in your life, because we've all had the negative things happen in our journey. But the question is, my teacher, my mentor has taught me, it's not the problem. It's not the problem. That's the how did she say it? Oh my goodness, it was very well put, and I've been using it lately. The problem is irrelevant. It's your response that matters. So it doesn't matter what you're going through. The problem of it is irrelevant. It's the response energetically, that ripple effect, if you will, of how you respond to it or don't respond to it. Do you want to be right or do you want to be at peace? Choose your battles. This is all energy management. This is all metaphysics and how the energy flows. So I hope that that helps today in some small way. I'll be back next Monday for another Metaphysical Mocha Monday starting at 8 a.m. Pacific Standard Time, 11 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. It's been an honor and pleasure to connect with you this morning. I hope that you have a great rest of your week. As I always like to say, dare to dream, dare to explore, dare to live, get out in life, look at your energy, see how your energy is interacting with the world, and also how the world is interacting with you from an energy standpoint, because some amazing things start to happen when you're open to that. So until our next soul adventure together, be kind, be caring, be compassionate, and I'll see you next Monday for Metaphysical Mocha Mondays. Take care, everybody. Namaste.